Good morning. Well, it is for me anyway. Today is part 2 of the concrete pad project. Over here is part 1 and over here is part 2, which I'm just about to start on. I've got my plastic bag ready to go and I'm gonna start mixing up some concrete. A few lessons I learnt from the first pad over here. Get ready, get well prepared. I was well prepared, but there were things that I could have done earlier to get into the task as quickly as possible. Obviously it's much better to have time at the end than time at the start with a concrete pad project. You want to be able to finish things off nice and calmly, make sure you're all packed up without having to scramble at the end. So get into your job early. I've got a wet weather option over here, even though at the moment it's nice and fine and it's set to be a fine day. So pick your days wisely. Make sure that there's not going to be any rain or that kind of thing. A still day is a good day too. Make sure everything's covered up. As you can see there, I've covered the spar pole, so we're not going to get cement splatter all over that. On this wall here you can see that the concrete gets everywhere, so I've also covered up the pads, the concrete pads either side, just to make sure that they're not going to get too much concrete splashed about on them. Anyway, I'm going to get started and I'll update you with progress. Okay, so I've had to abandon my plastic bag which sprung a leak. It needs to be a very thick plastic bag and it has to have no holes in it. And mine had holes and they started to get bigger. So anyway, I'm on to the wheelbarrow now, which I'm actually finding quite good on my back. It means that you can do one load there, and I'm actually going to put a second one in and mix it all up. And yeah, so far it's working better than the plastic bag, FYI. As you can imagine, it's your usual total mess when you're doing concreting. I've tried where possible to cover most other surfaces, so it's time for a bit of a clean up. And with regards to the concreting, I've smoothed out things to a certain amount with a board, just shuffling it back and forth across from the far side as you look at it here to the near side, just back and forth from right as you look at it to left, towards that drain in the top left hand corner. I've smoothed out the surface a little bit with a trowel. I'm going for a slightly weathered look to try and sink in with what's going to be going on here in the foreground with the old pad. So I'm actually going to be coming back with a little bit of a brush once things have set a little bit more, and just sort of brushing that surface a little bit and spraying it just lightly, so that I expose some of the stones and aggregate on the top, and hopefully that will mesh in with some of the stuff here in the foreground. Well, I'm standing here now in the rain, and I am glad that I managed to put a tarpaulin at least partially up to start with, just to help me dry the surface out. It is autumn here in New Zealand, and we're in Wellington, so it's not particularly hot, so it'd be good to get part of that surface sealed before the rain sets in. Now it's the next day on the work site, and the concrete, I've taken the covers off, and the concrete looks to have sealed a little bit more than I would have hoped actually. So I've given it a little quick spray with the black oxide mixture, same one that I used for the other side, and I'm going to try and brush that off and expose some of the aggregate, but it looks to be quite well sealed, so this should be interesting. Now I'm working away with my black oxide and water there in the spray bottle, and I've also got out the old wire brush, and I'm just taking that surface off, and I'm going to slowly work my way back to the first part of the pad, and that'll just take off that surface. Then I'll come back with the spray bottle and spray it out and expose some of that aggregate. So I've used the wire brush, and just, this is what I've swept up. I'll sweep that away, and then I will go back and spray it again with the black oxide spray. Now what I'm doing after that wire brushing, on the right hand side here, I have sprayed and then brushed with a paintbrush that black oxide in. So basically what I'm doing is, got my spray gun here, spraying, and then just brushing that in further. We're going to see what that does, but my idea is that it softens the top and settles that black oxide into the cement mix. Now you might remember that this first slab that I poured actually came out to around about along here. So what I'm trying to do is as I work my way back in this direction, I'm actually sort of blending this black oxide mix that I'm using onto this slab, and also slowly blending some of the cement and aggregate and stuff onto that as well. So hopefully almost sort of fusing the surface together, both in colour and a little bit in surface strength. So when you actually, hopefully when you look across this whole thing once it's dry, you won't be able to tell that it's in two parts. That's the hope. I'll keep working. Now I've just taken the screws out of this retaining area. I'm going to do similarly to what I did over this side, and that's just basically bang that piece of 4x2 until it falls through the bottom there, and then pull the plywood off, and then pull the whole lot out. So I've just knocked out that 4x2, and now it's just time to pull up the plywood. Then I might run some water over this whole surface and give it a little brush down. See how it comes up when it dries. While I'm at it, I'm just taking off the edge of this boxing with the wire brush, just so that it's sort of, because it's so perfect, it kind of well, it's not rounded, and then the water might just sort of slowly pool up and push back. So I'm hoping that instead of pulling up, it'll just go straight over the edge here. Okay, so I've been over that with my black oxide and water mix one last time. Still got to drop in the drain cover there, but now it's time to sit back and relax and let that dry, and then time to put the spa pool in place. Might be a bit of tidy up work there too, bit of painting of the fence, etc., but 95% done now. This is a little breakdown of my costs. I recycled and reused a lot of stuff. I chose to use ready mix concrete in 20 kg bags for ease of use, and that cost me $96 for the retaining wall and $576 for the pad. I needed reinforcing mesh and a drain cover and insert, with the total coming to 762 New Zealand dollars. Costs will vary around the world for these items, but that's not bad for a project of this type in New Zealand. Now, just in case you thought that I would be throwing all of the old concrete into the landfill or wasting it or something like that, no, I have been layering it up here to help retain a very steep bank which is eroding, and what I'm doing is building up underneath the roots of these trees to help hold this bank from falling down. So reusing and recycling. Now the concrete pad is complete, and you can see a fair bit of aggregate exposed, so that will blend in to the old stuff as it ages, and also give you a little bit of grip on your feet when you're walking around the hot tub or spa pool. And as you can see, the spa pool or hot tub is now in place, and it's got the steps sitting in front of it that we created, and it's up and running, nice and warm and ready for a dip. If you've found this video helpful, please press like and subscribe to follow along for more tips and tricks around the house, garage and garden. Thanks for watching.